Okay, good morning. First of all, fantastic that you're here watching this video. It shows that you actually want to have a bit more of a better understanding of how to tackle some of these estimating questions because they can be tricky. So I've got about 6 questions. We're going to start off with varied fluency, hot and spicy, then we go into reasoning and problem solving and we tackle one in hot and spicy, one in mega hot and one in are you nuts. The whole idea of this video is I'm going to show you how I would tackle these answers, okay, and not worry too much about the answers on the answer sheets for the moment. It's just the process of tackling these questions. Okay, so for question 1a, there is 200 milliliters of water in this container. Estimate the capacity of the container. First of all, let's put a circle around 200 milliliters. That way we know how much this is, or alternatively you could just write 200, not very good at writing on here, 200 milliliters. Okay, the easiest way for me, I think, to do this is to put a line. Obviously you could use a ruler, probably be a bit straighter than I am. So that would be one section. I reckon around about, say there, it's estimating, so we don't need to be perfect. Say there would be second section of the same amount of liquid. Then if we say about there, third section, I think split that in half, so about 4, 5. I think that is 1/5 of the total capacity of this container. That's just an educated estimate. Okay, so 1/5, perfect. Haven't got the answer yet. Go back up here. 200 milliliters is 1/5. So we've got 200 milliliters is 1/5. So we need to do 200 times 5 because that's what we're working in. We're working in fifths. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we've got one section of them, we need to times it by 5 to get the total capacity. So 200 times 5, not so sure on that, but I know 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10, so we'll put 10 in. And now we need to times 10 by 100, because 200 is 100 times bigger than 2. So times in by 100, we would then need to add on 2 zeros. It's the easiest way of looking at it. Okay. So 1000 is not the answer, 1000 milliliters would be the answer. Okay, so good logical estimate for that question there. 2a, now this gets a little bit trickier. 2a is looking at the capacity of container A, container B and container C. Now, they've given us the capacity of container A, 300 milliliters. I think the easiest starting point here is to go from A to C. So I believe that C is probably about 3, 4, yeah, maybe 4 times bigger than A. So I think that's fairly logical. So I'm going to put times 4 here for 4 times bigger. So we would need to do 300 times 4 to get the capacity of this here. So that would be 1,200. 300 add 300 add 300 add 300, 1,200 milliliters. Okay, so I just think it's about 4 times bigger. So if you see my head bobbing down, it's because I'm looking at the screen. Yeah, about 4 times bigger. If you said 3 times bigger, yeah, that's about right as well. Even 5 times, you're not miles off. Okay, what we're really after is to see what you can do with this number here to get an estimate of the capacity. I think 4 times would be the right answer there. A little bit harder I find going from medium to smaller. So I would think here potentially 3 times smaller. So if we're doing 3 times smaller, we'd need to divide by 3 to get the capacity. I think, yeah, about 3 of those would fit into there. Just a rough estimate. So 300 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then we've got 2 zeros to add on. So 300 divided by 3. If you've got 300 sweets and you're sharing them between 3 people, you'll all have 100 sweets. So in this case, it's milliliters of water. So I would say that is a good estimate that's a good estimate as from what we're given. Okay, so don't worry too much. It's about the process of using the numbers after your estimate as well, as long as you're not too far off. Okay, another one. These are quite tricky, I find. So bucket A is full of sand. Estimate how many of container A would fill container B. So how many full buckets of sand would fill container B? Tricky. I would say roughly, if we had maybe, when we put that in, because you need to think about the size difference here. So size difference in terms of width of the bucket. A is probably half the size the width of B. So I would have a good guess at saying maybe if we put one whole bucket in, then another of sand, and then say another, and then maybe another, say 4 buckets of sand might get to about there. That to me looks roughly halfway. So I would say that maybe 8 lots of these small buckets would fit into B. So maybe 8 times. That would be my estimate. You could say maybe 9, 10, 7, something along those lines. You wouldn't be too far wrong. If you show a little bit of scribbling, a little bit of workings on your paper as well, it shows us that you're engaging with the question. So have a go at that. That is quite hard, but we're just looking at a ballpark figure, something that looks around about right. Okay, so we'll go on to reasoning and problem solving. Ellie says, I put 15 balls in this jar. I estimate that the jar has a capacity of 50 balls. Do you agree? Well, we don't need to count the balls because we've been told there's 15 balls. That looks about half. So that's 1 half, 2 half, 15 balls. What we need to do is do 15 times 2 to get the capacity of the jar. So I would say that that is roughly halfway. So the capacity of the jar is 30 balls. B just standing for balls. Do you agree with this estimate? No. Explain why I do not. Because 15 balls takes up roughly half the jar. So the full jar would contain around 30 balls. Nice and simple. Don't worry too much about expanding your answers, expanding them. Just get it done. Okay. 5B, estimate the capacity of one of the containers. Estimate the capacity of the containers to complete the statement. One of the containers has a capacity of 750 milliliters. We don't know what container has a capacity of 750 milliliters. I'm going to say it's not this one here. It's not the end of the world if you did choose that one, but I would say it's not this one here because it looks quite small. So I'm going to say either this one here, being B, or A, could be 750 milliliters. It doesn't really matter. All we're looking at is to see if you know what these signs here mean and whether you can have a rough estimate. So I'm going to say A is 750 milliliters. So 750 milliliters is greater than, think about this as a crocodile mouth if we still need to, is greater than the capacity of B. So I think B maybe 500, 600, so let's say 600 milliliters. Not too worried here about your answers, it's all about whether you can create a sentence or this statement. 600 milliliters is greater than C. Now C looked quite a bit smaller than B, so I'm just going to half it and say around about 300 milliliters. Okay. Now, does that make sense? 750 is greater than 600, yes. 600 is greater than 300, yes, spot on. So the answer's fine. So if you had 750 milliliters as B, you'd just need a number bigger than 750 milliliters over here for A, and then obviously anything smaller over here. So you can use the numbers to your advantage here. Don't worry about the capacity too much. And then the final one we're going to look at is Bella has poured 155 milliliters into each of these containers. She says that container C has the least capacity. Is this a sensible estimation? Explain your answer. B, we don't even need to draw a line, but sorry, C has got the smallest amount of liquid in the whole jar, and or the container. Container's quite tall, a little bit thinner than B. B's got a little bit more liquid in, and A has evidently got the most liquid in comparison to the jar. So A has definitely got the most liquid in comparison to a jar, because they've all got 155 milliliters in, remember. So it's all the same amount of liquid, but this has got the most in comparison to the jar. So, which jar has the least capacity? It would be A. Is this a sensible estimation? No. A would be a sensible estimation because it has the least amount of capacity, because it has the least amount of space left, you could say. Okay, so the amount of space left. So it's got the least amount of capacity left. So it's got the most water per in comparison to her capacity. Something along those lines. Okay. Remember, it's an estimation. It's just, can you figure out that this one's got the greatest capacity because it's got the most remaining capacity of the container. B is in the middle, and A is got the least capacity because it's all got the same 155 milliliters of water in each. Okay, hopefully this video is a little bit long, but hopefully this will help you have a good start today. Take care.